You know what's crazy? We live in a world where attention is currency, where you think that calling more, texting more, and chasing harder will buy you her love. But here's the truth that too many young men forget. Women don't actually remember the one who chased endlessly, they remember the one who went silent. The one who stopped, the one who walked away with dignity intact. And I want you to sit with this truth because if you're a man feeling lost right now, wondering why your effort hasn't worked, wondering why your constant presence hasn't earned you her affection, you're chasing wrong. You're trying to be seen when the real value, the kind that pierces deep into her emotional memory, is the man who disappears when his worth is questioned. It's not about games or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power as a man, valuing your time, your presence, your peace, and recognizing that silence isn't weakness. Silence sometimes is your loudest statement, and the women you're worried about, they never forget the man who suddenly chose himself. The one who stopped explaining, the one who stopped arguing, the one who quietly disappeared because his peace meant more than her validation. So if you're listening to this today and feeling emotionally lost, I want you to lean in, because this silence, it's your turning point. Silence is one of the most misunderstood tools a man can have. When you stop calling, when you stop sending that good morning text she no longer responds to, when you finally decide to stop chasing after energy that's pulling away from you, many of you think that means you've lost. You feel defeated, almost ashamed, as if your silence is proof that you weren't strong enough to hold her attention. But I want you to hear this clearly. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is self-respect. Silence is the boldest message you can ever send without using a single word, because silence says, I know my worth. It says, I'm not here to convince you of my value. And when a man reaches that point, when he chooses to be still rather than beg, something powerful happens. She feels it, even if she acts indifferent, even if she pretends your absence doesn't bother her, even if she posts pictures looking happy deep inside, your silence speaks. And it speaks louder than any argument you could have had, louder than any desperate plea you could have sent. You see, women may not always understand what they feel immediately, but they are deeply affected by energy. When a man detaches gracefully, when he pulls back not in anger but in quiet confidence, she notices. And whether she admits it or not, that memory lingers. The man who goes silent doesn't do so out of weakness. He does it because he finally realizes that chasing someone who isn't meeting him halfway is draining, not loving. And that's the shift that matters most. This isn't about playing games. It's about standing tall and saying, I will no longer beg for a seat at a table where I am not celebrated. It's about reclaiming your time, your mind, your emotional balance. And that's why women never forget the one who went silent, because that man shows emotional strength. He becomes unforgettable not because of what he said, but because of what he stopped saying. So if you are sitting here struggling to stay silent, feeling like you're weak because you've stopped reaching out, remember this: your silence is power. It's your way of saying, I choose myself. Silence is not just about removing yourself from her life. It's about finally showing up in your own. Too many men think going silent is about teaching her a lesson, about waiting for her to realize she lost you, about hoping that she'll feel your absence and come running back. But here's what most of you don't realize: silence isn't for her, it's for you. It's a space where you stop chasing her attention and start chasing your own growth. It's the moment you reclaim energy you've been wasting on someone who didn't see your worth. You see, when you go silent, you're no longer caught in the exhausting cycle of proving your love, explaining your feelings, or trying to be enough for someone who may never appreciate what you bring to the table. In that silence, you finally have the space to ask yourself, who am I becoming? Am I proud of this man I see in the mirror? Am I building a life that commands respect, even from myself? Silence is where the transformation happens. It's where you stop checking your phone for her reply and start checking your schedule for your next goal. It's where you stop wondering what she's doing and start focusing on how to improve you. And believe me when I say this, women feel that shift. Even if they're far away, even if they're silent too, they sense when your energy no longer revolves around them. But here's the most beautiful part. This isn't about revenge or trying to impress her later. This is about becoming a man who is worthy of respect, regardless of whether she comes back or not. It's about becoming the version of yourself you were always meant to be: disciplined, calm, purposeful, and powerful. So, when you go silent, let it be an act of love for yourself. Let it be a chapter where you finally stop waiting for someone else to validate you and start validating yourself through action, consistency, and growth. That's why silence is unforgettable, not because she will see it, but because you will finally see you. Respect is never begged for, and I need you to let that sink in. Too many young men think they can earn a woman's respect by explaining themselves over and over, by arguing their point, by making sure she understands how much they care. But real respect is not given because you demand it. It's given because you embody it. And sometimes the most powerful way to command respect is not through words, but through absence. When you choose silence, when you quietly step back from a situation where your value is being overlooked, you create a space that speaks volumes. You create a void that forces her to sit with herself. And this is what many men don't realize. Women are emotional creatures. We remember how a man made us feel, not necessarily what he did or didn't do for us. When you go silent, you leave behind a feeling of distance, a feeling of mystery, a feeling of dignity. You are no longer trying to convince her that you're good enough. Instead, you are showing her that you respect yourself enough to step back. And even if she pretends not to care, even if she acts like your silence doesn't matter, deep down she feels it. She feels that shift in energy, that moment when you stop showing up, when you stop chasing, when you stop explaining yourself. That is unforgettable because silence is not just about not speaking. Silence is about the removal of your energy. And trust me, energy is powerful. When you take your energy back, you create a void that lingers in her heart and mind. And in that void, she will reflect. Maybe she will feel regret. Maybe she will feel curiosity. Maybe she will even feel frustration. But no matter what she feels, she will remember you not as the man who pleaded for her love, but as the man who walked away with quiet strength. So if you are in that space right now, wondering if silence is the right move, I'm here to tell you, silence is not weakness. It's self-respect, it's dignity, it's power. And that is exactly why women never forget the one who chose to go silent. This journey, this silence you've chosen, isn't about punishing her or making her feel your absence out of spite. No, it's about something much deeper. It's about reclaiming your masculine energy. Because when you're constantly texting, calling, proving, and trying, you're not standing in your power, you're surrendering it. You're teaching yourself, without realizing it, that her validation is worth more than your peace. You're saying, my happiness depends on her attention. And that's where everything goes wrong. But silence resets that entire equation. Silence tells your soul, I matter more than proving myself to someone who doesn't see me. I matter more than this endless chase for attention. And when you stop speaking to her, you finally start listening to yourself. You start hearing your own neglected needs, your forgotten dreams, your lost ambitions. You begin to recognize where you've let your life drift off course, not because she made you, but because you chose to prioritize her over your own growth. And in that silence, you reclaim your discipline. You get up earlier. You take better care of your body. You start reading again, thinking deeply, working toward goals you abandoned. You rebuild yourself piece by piece, day by day, not for her, but for you. And this is why silence is so powerful. It forces you inward, away from distraction, and back into your own self-development. And let me tell you this truth, whether she comes back or not is irrelevant, because by the time she realizes your silence has weight, you'll already have become a man transformed. A man she could never forget, not because you begged or pleaded, but because you chose yourself. This is the quiet rebuilding that happens when you stop chasing and start leading your own life again. And a man who reclaims his masculine energy, who rebuilds himself silently, who becomes whole again without seeking external validation, that man is magnetic. That man is unforgettable, so don't see this silence as an ending. See it as a beginning. A return to who you really are, a man worthy of respect, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Women don't remember men because of the things they did. They remember men because of the way those men made them feel. And nothing makes a woman feel more than when a man honors himself. When you step back quietly, when you stop explaining, when you walk away not out of bitterness, but out of peace, she feels it. Your absence suddenly becomes a presence in her mind. And let me be clear, this isn't about strategy or manipulation. This is about alignment. This is about becoming the man who no longer seeks permission to be enough. A man who withdraws gracefully isn't punishing her, he's respecting himself, and that self-respect is magnetic. A woman may not admit it to you, or even to herself, but deep inside, she notices that shift. She feels when a man who once prioritized her attention now prioritizes his peace. She feels when your entire energy no longer revolves around her whims. But here's the thing, don't go silent just so she notices. Go silent because you finally realize that your worth was never up for negotiation in the first place. Go silent because you now understand that your attention is valuable, your time is precious, your peace is sacred. This is about moving from seeking external validation to cultivating internal fulfillment. You don't need her applause to feel confident. You don't need her attention to feel alive. When you live that truth, not pretend but truly live it, you radiate a power that words can't manufacture. That power makes you unforgettable, not because you're trying to be, but because a man who is whole within himself leaves a lasting emotional imprint. So let your silence speak for you. Let your quiet actions demonstrate your value. Let your withdrawal mark the beginning of your journey inward, toward becoming that man. A man who walks in quiet confidence, whose absence feels more powerful than his presence ever did. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what women remember, not the man who chased and begged, but the man who stood in his worth silently, confidently, peacefully. Let's get real for a moment. If you're watching this, chances are you're sitting there right now, hurting because she's ignoring you. She's ghosted you, she's pulling away, and your instinct tells you to do more, to reach out one more time, to explain yourself, to remind her of the connection you shared. But pause right there. I need you to ask yourself something deeper. Are you living a life that commands respect, or are you waiting for her to validate your worth? This is where silence becomes your greatest gift, not a weapon, not a punishment, a gift, because in silence you stop waiting for her reply and start hearing your own inner voice again. In silence, you begin the work you've avoided the work on you. You stop texting and start training. You stop explaining and start expanding. You stop pleading and start planning. And I promise you, this shift is everything. The man who embraces silence becomes dangerous in the most beautiful way. Dangerous because he no longer needs external validation to feel whole. Dangerous because he's busy becoming the version of himself that can walk into any room with quiet confidence. When you choose yourself, truly choose yourself, something happens that no amount of words can replace. You grow. You rise, you evolve, and trust me, she will feel it. She may never say it out loud. She may never admit that your absence shook her. But she will know. And in the quiet of her mind, she will never forget the man who stopped chasing and started becoming. This is why silence is power. It's not about getting her back, it's about getting